So I finally watched the only Rob Zombie movie I haven't seen, which is Lords of Salem. And wow, this is my favorite Rob Zombie movie. This is my first viewing of it, and my God, I like a lot of Rob Zombie's movies overall, but I always have an issue with the dialogue and how overly hateful and annoying these characters are in his movies. And the thing I thought was really interesting is that this movie is not that. This really is a movie where the writing in it is honestly better. It's one of his more recent movies. It came out in 2012, and it really works on a lot of levels. This really surprised me. I really am kind of astounded that I really like this a lot more than a lot of his other movies. I mean, I really like his Halloween remake and the sequel, and Devil's Rejects, but like 31, I can't stand. And then House of a Thousand Corpses, I don't like that much. So I'm kind of in the middle on his stuff, but for the most part, I noticed that usually the vein of why I don't like a lot of his movies or love them is because of the hateful characters, and I know he's supposed to make them. They're supposed to be hateful on purpose, like these characters in a lot of movies that he does. But God, some of them are annoying, and just I can't stand. And the thing I loved about this movie is that these characters were actually the most likable in any of his movies. Like I was surprised. I was like, what? And the writing is not just like like just complete just redneck dialogue where like all these characters, no matter what, just say shit, fuck, like they say every vulgar thing they can. And I'm not a prude person, but whenever you just cuss to cuss, it gets annoying and gets repetitive and really stupid. And he is a good example of that in a lot of his movies. Like just really so many obnoxious characters because they just are so overly vulgar on purpose to where it's just you understand the point that they're vulgar, but it's just annoying and how these characters are so strong and just how stupid they are. But watching this one, these characters weren't really like that. I mean, there were a couple moments, but they didn't feel like his typical Rob Zombie dialogue, and I thought that this was interesting that it didn't do that. I've really, I don't know, and Rob Zombie wrote it too, so that's what's really surprises me, that he did something different. And it paid off, in my opinion, it really did. And it's the most clean of his movies. Like, and that's what I like more about it, because these characters weren't overly annoying and overly obnoxious. They actually got some development to them in a way where it's not like some people were just good people. And in his other movies, they're either killers or just become killers because they have horrible things happen to them, like say the Halloween remake, or like House of a Thousand Corpses, or like these characters are just so psychotic and so crazy. And like in this one, I love the fact that Sherry Moon Zombie's character Heidi, the girl in the front, and at first I didn't know that was Sherry Moon Zombie. That didn't like I didn't even recognize her because all that makeup. But then look up close and you can tell. But Sherry Moon Zombie's character Heidi in this movie is actually a likable character. This character, you realize as the movie goes along, and this is a spoiler review, but as the movie goes along, you realize that she is down the line, like she is on the family tree of the Salem witches, and I love the fact that she slowly becomes one of them, but it really works and is really effective because this character I really liked and enjoyed, and she was fun and likable, and all these characters in this movie I thought were really fun and likable. Like they didn't, like I said, they didn't have the typical dialogue where like they just said annoying things just to be annoying, in my opinion. And a lot of people might think different, but I thought that most of his movies, his characters are annoying and obnoxious. And I love how subtle it is too, with like her becoming like this witch towards the end. Whenever, like at the end, she becomes the witch, but I like how subtle it is to where there's a music cue in this movie that was from then, and whenever it plays, it actually makes women who are part of this tree get headaches. Or maybe it's just any woman, but like they start getting headaches and they start fainting out, and like it's affecting them mentally because that's what she's eventually going to become. Whenever she hears this music, it causes headaches for her, and she doesn't understand like what's going on, but she's actually part of this bloodline. And I think that it's very subtle how they bring that music cue in whenever they play it, like on the radio, and all the other women are like starting to blank out and become kind of hypnotized in a way, and it works really well, and it's really cool. And also the horror imagery in this movie is honestly the best, I think, out of any of Rob Zombie's movies. His other horror imagery is good. Like, I like the imagery in all his other movies and how they look, but this one, just because it's a different type of horror movie that he has done, because the other horror movies he has done is just about like psychotic killers, and in this one it's about witches who don't necessarily really kill much in the movie. It's just about the inevitable buildup of Heidi, Sherman Zombie's character, becoming this witch, and how there's 3 witches that are leading her to it. And I think that it just really, again, works with the horror imagery. The imagery is great because it is different than his other movies, but it is really creepy. It works really, really well. And there was so many great images. Like, for example, there's one scene where Sherry Moon is like in the room, and it will show the background, this poster on the wall of these people in masks, like a couple different people, just blank mask with big hole in their mouth hole, and then they start talking, and like to her, and like blood starts coming out of each of their mouths, and that is such a cool horror image. Like, that's really awesome. And the image at the end, whenever she fully becomes what she's meant to become, like she looks elegant and stands upon all of these dead bodies, and that is a beautiful image. Like, one of the most beautiful images in all of his movies. Like, cinematography wise, it just looks incredible. And the 3 witches in the movie, I think, are really scary. Like, they really do a good job of, there's something up with them at first, but they're very good at being subtle and being maniacal, and just really great. Like, the actresses they picked are really great. The only one I can name on top of my head is Dee Wallace, who's great, but all 3 of them are great as well, though. I just don't know the names of the other 2, but they are really awesome. And I thought it was funny that Meg Foster appears too, but she's just the witch from the actual Salem witch trials. Like, she just kind of appears in the movie in current time. But like, I like seeing her in the movie. That was pretty cool. But I really, really just thought that we just got a really solid, like, Rob Zombie movie that, to me, didn't have to rely on his typical Rob Zombie isms, which I don't hate any of his movies, I don't think. Well, maybe 31. I really didn't like 31, but his other movies I don't hate. I just think that they are really pushed down in a way for me, because the characters in all of them are just so obnoxious in a lot of ways. Most of the characters in all of his movies are utterly obnoxious. In this one, none of them were to me. None. And I thought that was such a welcome surprise. And it just really surprised me. So like I said, it's the most clean of his movies, and it actually works better. Like, he tries to be so overly violent, so overly pushy, overly vulgar, that I feel like it ruins what he's trying to do. Because it kind of becomes cartoony and silly in a way with how violent and how vulgar he gets with all of these movies. And in this one, it was very subtle in a lot of ways, with the character build-up, with the imagery. Like, it felt more of a solid movie to me. Like, I really thought that this is his best movie. And again, I'm just so pissed that I waited this long to see this, because this came out in 2012, I believe. Yeah, and God, it surprised me. Just a beautiful horror movie that really, really got me, and I'm so glad I finally saw it. And I wish I didn't have that Rob Zombie bias, because I would have seen it quicker. But God, So good. I really love this movie.